Welcome to Funkatopia Live, everybody. I am your host, Mr. Christopher, and this is the man, the legendary drummer, the man who keeps time like it owes him money, Mr. Michael Bland.
Now that one I'll go with. Yes, I do, man. I don't leave a stitch of funk on the ground, man. I'm picking up every bit of funk I can get my hands on. You right about that.
Our guest has arrived. She's in the green room. I'm going to bring her in just a second, but let me just preface this. First of all, for those of you just joining us, this is Funkatopia Live. I am your host, Mr. Christopher. This is the illustrious NPG drummer extraordinaire, Michael Bland is right here in the house. So
yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know.
Yes. Indie bass. Indie bass. Yes.
Indie bass. Oh, we got the video already? I know we got it. Yeah,
In the face.
So anyway, so we have a very special guest on tonight, and I just kind of want to let me preface this. Our guest tonight is someone that I found online months ago when she was dissecting bass lines on Scott's bass lessons for Jamiroquai's Traveling Without Moving. And once I stumbled on that, I started digging into her career and started digging into and she is just a monster. If you've never, and I've just said this just a few minutes ago, but since this is kind of the official now, we're starting the show. If you've never seen that channel, they bring on bass players and they play them tracks that they most likely have never heard. And they remove the bass line and ask them to figure out what the bass line might be. Now, the episode is almost 15 minutes long, but I have about a minute or so of clips that I took of the process that she went through to dissect this track. And I hope Mohini is okay with this. But it's her listening to the track, but also writing down the chord and note structures, and then kind of playing her own interpretation of what that bass line might be. So let me just play this clip of what I saw, so that you can get an idea of why I am so obsessed with this woman. All right, so let's go ahead and play this real quick.
Be cool.
I know I would do is traveling without moving. Oh yeah. I know I would do is traveling without moving. Oh yeah.
This is like one take and it's absurd.
This is like the shortcut, my shortcut and my fastest way of writing and learning songs. When I have no time, this is what I do.
Let me just say, I had to stop it before y'all. You're not going to watch this. You're going to go and watch that. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring to the stage the bass goddess herself, Miss Mohini Dey.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hello.
That was a very sweet introduction.
Oh, it's warranted. It's completely warranted. So, where are you at? What part of the world are you in right now?
Great question. I'm in Nashville. I just came back from the Coldplay tour yesterday. I was opening with Willow Smith for the Coldplay tour. We had 2 shows in El Paso, and I came back yesterday and literally just crashed after I got back because I was so tired. I probably look tired even now, but yeah, just a lot going on.
No, you look great.
Thank you. No, I'm in Nashville. Yeah.
So this is kind of interesting that you said that, and I was wondering, trying to figure out exactly. Willow Smith, I love Willow. She is like, the music that she does is kind of a little bit off kilter. It's very, very different from Coldplay. How is that working?
It's great, honestly. I think it's a great education for the local people out there. I think they're so used to listening to simple melodies and really simple music, honestly. I think her music, like you said, is very technical, but it has a good blend of, I think her music also has beautiful melodies, but the background, the way it's combined with complex harmonies and odd time meters here and there, I think it's a great educational type of content for people that haven't heard that kind of music, you know. So it was surprising initially when we did our first gig. It was in Stanford Stadium in San Jose, and our first gig, after we got done with it, we were like, what was that audience? Because they were, you know, very shocked and very surprised to hear that kind of music. I don't know if you've heard Empathogen, her album, but you know, it has songs in 7, it has songs in 4/4 but even the 4/4 songs can throw people off and confuse them as to thinking like, oh, it's not in 4/4, but it really is in 4/4. You know, there are some cool polyrhythmic structures here and there to play around with. As a person who loves odd time meters, it's like really cool to be a part of her band. And she really cherry picked all the musicians in her band, and you know, carved out this beautiful set of musicians to play with her music. And really, there's only very few people that can play that kind of music and understand to play this music with maturity and emotional maturity as well, not just experience, you know. So yeah, the first time after the first gig, we were like, I hope the audience liked it. And that's the second gig we did. The audience seemed to dig it more. And then the third gig we did, which was in Vegas, I think, we played 2 nights at the what was the venue? I forget the name, but we played 2 nights, and people were just like in awe, and people had their phones out, and they were just shocked and surprised initially, but then they started dancing and moving to that music. And it's a lot to expect from fans of Coldplay, because obviously they're there for Coldplay, you know. And she was just opening alongside this other girl from the Middle East called Ileana. And the last 2 shows we had was in El Paso, and I would say that was the highlight of the tour, because you would think like, oh, El Paso, you know, it's a small place, and like, you know, people probably don't know much about their ordinary, you know, but they seem to have enjoyed the most out of all the audiences we played for, and they were just having the time of their life, and it was just magical to see that. And then after El Paso, I totally forgot. Actually, I did. Everything has been moving so fast. But after the El Paso gig, the last El Paso gig, we went to LA for the Hollywood Bowl performance, and I was playing for the Hollywood Bowl Blue Note Jazz Festival with my band, and then I played with Willow as well on the same day, which was a day ago. So I was doing double duties that day. And from LA, I came to Nashville yesterday. It was not from El Paso. I totally forgot.
Well, I'm kind of curious with Willow Smith. Obviously, I guess the first thing I would ask is, are her parents involved? Do you see them on the road at all, or is she just pretty much just her own self?
No, she's her own artist, you know. I have, you know, seen them come to support her gigs maybe once or twice when they could. And there's a lot of love and respect between them. And I can see the true love for their daughter. You know, I can see that the parents are so proud of her, of doing this all on her own and choosing this path, you know, because obviously, you know, she can have it easy if she wants to, but she does not. She believes in doing it all herself, and she chose this hard path. And she's doing something that nobody else is doing, you know. She's bringing this kind of music to big arenas and stadiums, and who's doing that, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's incredible of her, and I think it's very powerful and emotionally really mature of her to do that. She's following her intuition, she's following her first instinct, and she's so good at what she does. She's a remarkable singer, and she the way she deals with people in her team and her musicians in the team, including us, she considers us her family, you know, and we consider her our family too, because we've grown closer over the past, you know, how many ever months I think it's been over a year actually we've been together working with each other, which is crazy to even think about. Like the time goes by so fast. The first thing I did with her was Tiny Desk, and then the second thing I did with her was the Jimmy Fallon, and then we did the Childish Gambino tour, one-offs here and there, and then we did the Coldplay tour now, and now we're about to do a Newport Jazz Festival. So she's really keen on hitting the jazz festivals, you know, and I think it's really a great move on her part, because this music deserves to be heard everywhere. And I'm really honored and grateful to be a part of her band. And she allows me to be me, and she takes all my advice and artistic recommendations in consideration, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, it's. I mean, some of the stuff we've been hearing has just been fantastic, and I actually have like a clip that I put together of some of your Instagram clips that I'll play in a little bit. But has it always been bass guitar for you, or do you gravitate towards any instruments, or do you play any other instruments?
It's always been bass for me, but in pandemic I started playing drums a little bit, and then I played a little bit of Moog. I got into the synth world a little bit. It was all in pandemic when I had a lot of time. That's the thing. When you have a lot of time, you can do a lot, right? But when you don't have the time, you kind of uh, seem to gravitate towards your tendencies, which is obviously, you have to do your work and you have to meet your priorities and, meet your responsibilities. But yeah, so when I did have time, I was playing drums and I was playing the keyboard a little bit, not knowing anything on the keyboard. Like, I don't even know all the keys. Of course, I know a little bit, but like, I don't know where I'm at when I'm playing. So I go by ear, and I go by rhythm. But after pandemic was over, I went back to bass. I sold the drum kit. I still have my Moog back in India though. Here in Nashville, I just have a couple of basses, but my collection, I would say, and my inventory, all my basses and all of my like really dear stuff, gear is back in India, in Mumbai city, where my mom is there and my sister is there. So I think I keep it there because I feel more safe, because like my family is there and they can take care of it once in a while. They can go
Right.
over to my place and like check on it. And in Nashville, like nobody's here to like check on stuff. So I keep very minimal things, only the things that I really need for my tours and recording sessions and whatever else,
And it's funny that you brought up Mumbai, because I actually have a cultural question. Because in Indian families, from the outside looking in, are very strict with their children in regards to like academics and careers, and not to use a stereotypical broad brush, but I mean that is very, very prevalent. Is that fair to say about the culture?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
It's better now, but yeah, the time I grew up in and the time I was a little kiddo, definitely. It's much better now. Kids are more rebellious and they can get out much faster and easier, I guess, but in those days, I remember fighting all the traditional religious practices, in my house, I remember I was, like taught to pray after my shower, not have non-vegetarian food on Saturdays and Mondays, because those were the two important gods that I was praying to. So my dad always told me like, no non-vegetarian food on those 2 days, because if you eat veg, then something bad might happen to you. Like you're not respecting the gods. You should be stuff like that. And then of course the whole menstrual cycle, like when you're on your period, you don't pray, you don't touch gods, because then it's disrespecting them. And grew up with a lot of that, and then also like wearing a Hanuman pendant on my neck, which was like a spirit supporter, protector, and he told me like, you should remember to wear that always, never take it off, because this is your protection. And like, any gigs you go to, anywhere you go, like this is going to protect you. And of course I was super rebellious for my age, and I did the complete opposite all the time. And I wanted to see like what bad could it really do, like let's check it out. And then I remember like not wearing the pendant one time, and that show was shit from my personal standpoint. But I realized after the gig that it was less to do with the pendant and it was more to do with my head, because it had been instilled so deeply in my head that I was battling all my personal traumas and all the things that came with my childhood traumas, and things that didn't matter. But of course, it took me a long time to overcome those. Growing up in a strict household, having a 5 a.m. to 12 a.m. schedule every day was a lot on a little kid. I was packed out with lessons. I was packed out with extracurricular activities. I was packed out with music lessons, academic, school life. And then, going to studios with my dad and stuff, and all that. So like I was never allowed to have friends or go to movies or shopping with friends. We weren't very financially strong as like growing up. So like my dad always made sure like I'm not distracted by anything. I'm very focused like on my path, and it was his dream for me to become a successful bass player, and he knew that I very much wanted to become a fashion designer. So every time I had like fashion channels on TV, he would change the channel to the Jaco Pastorius playing bass or Victor Wooten playing bass, and he would put like DVDs that would be music related stuff, or Herbie, stuff, all that stuff. And I remember getting like really depressed, and I'm like, okay, well, as long as I stay here, there's nothing I can do. Like I have to go by his calls, and
Right.
it's either his way or no way, and I'm like, I was not going to live in that controlled environment. And it was strict to a point where it was like I would be locked up in a room if I didn't get something right, or if I said something wrong. Like you have to get that lesson right or you're not getting dinner, so stuff like that. It was really, really tough.
Yeah.
Really tough. And my mom, she was just, the wife, and she was just the woman of the house with less power, and he was the man of the house. So whatever he said would rule, and whatever she said would not be, you know. And every time she would try to fight back, it would not work. It would hold less power. So seeing her getting treated the way she did, I was confused as to like, okay, so he wants me to be independent and he wants me to be the boss in this real world, but I'm seeing my mother getting treated the complete opposite. Like, like what if a man in my life treats me that way? I would never,
Right.
and I guess he had good intentions, but he just didn't know how to apply and how to, I don't know how to work it out with me and my sister. He just had very strong intentions, and he wanted to make sure that he wins. He wins in what he dreams for, which is me achieving an independent, successful life, so that in the future I don't have to struggle with money, or I don't have to beg to anyone for anything, and nobody can point fingers at me. He knew that I was special as a kid growing up, and he wanted to make sure that I double down on that and don't waste that energy and time, because I had rhythm in me and I had this spark inside of me, and I was very confident from the very start with whatever I did. He knew that whatever I put my mind into, I'm going to do it the best.
Yeah.
There were, so I guess, like he won, obviously,
Yeah, and I find that unusual too, because if I remember the story that I read, both of your parents were musicians.
yes,
And
yeah.
and so they had already been through this whole process of kind of going against the grain with their
They
parents. And
struggled
so,
a lot, and they didn't want me and my sister to struggle. And so, he made sure that I never am at that point where he had to go through those struggles. Like he made sure I didn't have to go through the same struggles, because in India as a bass player, like you're not earning that much, and like I was born in a different time, and the more years went by, I realized like business is dealt with differently now, and business was dealt with differently at his time. And that was a clash that him and I had all the time. Like he would ask of me something, and I'd be like, no, but you came from a different time, I'm not going to do this is how it's supposed to be. And then we would clash and we would fight a lot, and then I was taking away a lot of his jobs because I was getting better. He's a bass player too, and like not many bass players in the city that I was born and brought up in. So that also affected his and mine relationship, where it was funny and confusing to me, because it's like he wanted me to do what he wanted me to do, and then I was getting better and surpassing his expectations and and living his dream. But when I got very good, then it was hard for him to accept that, because I guess he didn't see that much happening. And I was playing some of the biggest festivals. I was getting hired by some of the biggest musicians, and I surpassed his dream, I guess. And it took him time to accept that.
Yeah, that's
And
tough. That's tough.
yeah, and he started fighting with me, and he said to me one day that you're never going to be successful without me, and you're the dust of my feet, and like lots of things like that. And I was like, well, I'm going to prove to you what I can do without you. And I left the house. I remember leaving the house at the age of 17, and I didn't speak to him for 3 years. And then
Wow.
towards the end of that third year, I got a call from him, and he, in his own words, kind of not really apology, but like in his own words, he said he's proud of me. And he started coming to my gigs, and he started making that effort to have a good relationship with me. And before he passed, I would say, which was little over a year ago, him and I had a good relationship for the last 2.5, 3 years before he passed, which was good.
Oh, well, that's good. Now, were you managing yourself and your career as far as like this? Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been 20 years. I've been doing this on my own, and I only got signed by an agency just a little less than a year ago after I moved.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how has it been letting go of that control? I mean,
I'm still very much in control, I'll say that. but it's good to have smart help around you, and you can tell them exactly what you want and what you look for. And these smart people are very good with making your dreams and vision come to life, maybe at a fast pace, maybe at a faster pace than you can even think of. Like, I thought I would just do it all on my own, and like I love the power of delegation, of course, but you still have to stay on top of things. You have to make sure like you supervise well, and everything is going the systematic way, and everything is being handled the professional way, because you never know, like one thing falls out. If somebody messes up, people are going to point at the artist, not the people in your team, obviously, because the audience don't know that, the world doesn't know that. It comes to the artist, falls down on the artist. So but yeah, it's definitely, it's been a turning point in my life to have a team that actually does all the work for me, and it's only growing. And we are in that turning transition mode, I would say, where things are getting better. And I am looking forward to having the best team of my own, which can do all the work for me. Right now, I have an agent, and I have a manager, and I have my personal assistant. I've had a personal assistant for a long time, like over 2 years. But yeah, so just like being able to travel with like your trustworthy team, is really something that I, is my goal, to have like a wardrobe team, have like a person that carries all the merch and carries all my gear, because I'm very small. I don't want to carry my bass and my stuff. I just I want like everything. It's just less stressful,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Michael, did you have a question? I'm sorry. I let you get in there. Sorry.
Listen, I mean, the problem for me is this: I have so much to say and so much to ask about.
5583. Sorry, I just had to grab a delivery. 5583. Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, she clearly has. Let her talk. Let her cook.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, so here's the other thing. You mentioned that your father introduced you to the bass stylings of Jaco Pastorius. You also mentioned Victor Wooten. Your style was actually very similar to Jaco's as far as how you weave in and out of melodies.
Mm-hmm.
What lessons did you learn listening to Jaco?
A lot of his songs, honestly. I grew up listening to like Birdland, Havana, like all these things. Of course, weather report songs, Liberty City with the big horns. So that's why I love the blend of like horns with bass line. My ultimate goal is to have a band that has a big horn section, and maybe even like a symphony orchestra. But the only difference with my music and his approach would be I'm a little more progressive, and because I'm a little more technical with my playing, I like to infuse the rock elements and the progressive elements with that touch, with the muted percussive Jacko, style. The blend is with my I just actually finished my second album, and the second album has those elements. My first album had just horns, bass, guitars, drums, and keys, and a lot of synths. But this time around, it has horns, bass, guitar, vibraphone, and and strings. And so I always heard that in my mind, like playing those unison lines and those rock style lines with the blend of strings playing the counterparts or the stabs or the hits, and I think that has never been done before. And I always heard that, and I wanted people to hear that. With the first album, I couldn't do it because I just wanted to get it out. It had already been too long that people were like, "Oh, you gotta release your album. What are you doing? Like, it's been sitting. You gotta release it." And I'm like, okay, well, let's just do it. And then I did it, and of course, it blew up, and I'm so grateful. But I really didn't think that it would do anything. I released it on my own, and there was so much love and support, and it did so well. And with the second album, I know it's gonna do even better because there is the demand for it, and there's a market which I was unaware of. So yeah, I'm really excited. But growing up, I listened to a lot of drummers as well, and that's why I'm very percussive with my playing. People call me like a drummer on the bass, I like to incorporate the percussive elements with my playing, because that was my foundation growing up in India, having played with a lot of exotic instrumentalists from the north and south, having played with like kanjira artists, mridangam players, ghatam players, and I was the only bass player, like part of the melodic, harmonic, and rhythm section. So it was interesting the way I heard things, and I think I just carried that forward, and I keep doing that with every band that I associate, or every project that I associate myself with, and it's just part of me. It just comes naturally to me. It's not a thing that I'm consciously thinking about. It's just part of me. It's just my vocabulary. So yeah, having grown up listening to Jacko, Victor Wooten, even Michael Mandarin, John Patitucci, Abraham Laborio, Billy Sheehan, like all these bass players had a big role to play in my playing. And my dad too, because he was not a famous bass player, but he had some things that he did that I didn't hear any of those bass players do. And so I took that in my playing as well. I stole all of that from him, and he let me, and I started incorporating those in my music. And so to give an example, Kick Bass from my first album had his bass line, my dad's bass line in it. It was just an exercise, actually.
Cool.
And like, and it's in 6/8. And then I wrote a melody on top, and it was just an exercise. It was like constant doubles, constant of that, and very, very like consistent with it. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna write a set of changes. I'm gonna play that same groove throughout those changes, and I'm gonna write a melody. And I just put it out. Actually, no, my dad put out a practice video of me and my sister playing that exercise on Facebook a long time ago. This was like when I was probably like 15 or something. And Narada Michael Walden reached out to me on Facebook, and he said, I want to play on this song. And that's when I started writing the song, writing the melody, carved out the whole thing, sent it to him. He played drums on it, didn't release it for many years until just 2 years ago. And I used the same drums. And it's so crazy, and it sounds so good even then,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now,
it's time for me to upset this interview, because
go ahead.
I did my due diligence, so I've heard some of these things she said already. I don't want this to be a repeat of everything else you've been doing interview wise. So I need to ask you some questions. Can I challenge you a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because you mentioned that you were a little low energy right now. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to upset you, but I'm curious to know some things. wow. I've heard it said that the thing that we're best at, like the thing that the world gives us credit for, is usually not the real thing that we're actually here to accomplish. And in your telling of your story and growing up, I can hear it already. You're a musician, certainly. You're brilliant, but there's another purpose going on.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
There's something higher than that.
Absolutely. I don't do this for music. I do this for my own self to feel content, which is a hard feeling to feel and achieve. I think it comes with a lot of practice and experience. With my writing, I'm able to create and put my hardships and emotions, and of course everybody goes through struggles, right? I don't see my set of struggles being bigger than anybody's. It's just pain. Pain is pain. It's not small or big. Nobody's pain is small or big, right? But coming from India, being the first female bass player, having told stuff like, oh, you play a masculine instrument, like you're not going to be strong enough and you're not strong enough.
Right.
And of course that like gave birth to like a different kind of fire. And it became a point where I needed to prove them wrong. But most importantly, it was about, what am I seeking, and that was a question I was asking a lot as a 15-year-old. And when I took that leave from the house, it was clear that I'm able to achieve the things that I put my mind into, because at 15, I told myself, I'm going to aggressively save up a lot of money, and I'm going to be independent, and I'm going to seek stability, because stability is everything, right? And it can be different things to different people, like emotional stability, financial stability, marital stability, of course, everybody knows I was married for 3.5 years, and then it didn't work out, obviously.
Oh no, wait, I didn't. Well, I didn't get in your personal business like that.
No, it's
Yeah,
fine.
no,
We're
Mark.
good. We still make music together. He's an
Great, fantastic.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And so you can't have everything. You can keep trying, but doesn't mean you have to give it up. You don't have to give up on it. You can still have hope, and you can keep trying and keep getting better at it. I think music is such a powerful force. It can bring everything together, and no matter where you're from or what you're feeling, it has been my source of safe space. When I couldn't take care of myself, music took care of me.
You're gonna make me cry.
Yeah.
I've said this many times before.
And
Please,
so even though I didn't want to do music, I have a lot of respect and love for the way music has taken care of me. And I will never give up because of that reason. And it has been able to fulfill my personal goals and bring me closer to that stability. I have 2 other companies on the side that run by its own, and that would not have happened if I didn't invest my time and energy in music. I'm known as a musician, but I'm so much more than that,
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
That was a great question. I appreciate you for asking.
I got how do I you're in such a position, as far as in the music world, anytime someone like you rises up, you set more of the captives free. Because most people, they have to see it before they can understand, before they can even decide, I played a show over the weekend. I saw this little white kid in the front row. We played at a raceway in St. Louis. And we're just kind of doing our thing. And I looked down, and this kid was just, you can always tell the ones were just sucked in. Like music takes on a different meaning for them. And you can almost see the transformation.
Totally.
Yeah. And that is really what I've realized. I've really been doing it for lately, because I not fear, but I'm concerned about the future of music. What I like about your approach is that you play enough stuff that I know, so that whenever you slip between these different I mean, I'm a drummer, so all I ever do is listen to the bass player.
Yeah, of course.
I play
I'm
a little
always
bit
listening to
myself,
the
but
drums too. Yeah.
I wouldn't play in front of you, but I play a little bass.
No, you're
Um,
just doing fine now.
But that's really what it is. Music is my everything. It's been my social lubricant. It's been my financial security. It's been there when a lot of other things have not.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I hate people talking, talking negatively about certain projects that they're associated with, because, I mean, you're able to provide for your families because of those projects. So don't shit about it,
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. There's not enough respect for the process.
Exactly. And I don't pray since I got out of my house back in India. I don't pray, but I'll say this, and I believe there is higher power out there, and I believe that intention really matters. And
Absolutely.
I light a candle when I can, and I will stare at it for a very long time. I think there is a lot of energy there. And I have my dad's picture on the wall here, and I'll look at it and I'll talk to him sometimes. For me, I pray when I play, and I'm doing it 24/7. And that's my way of praying, you know? And maybe that's why I'm able to connect with something that even I couldn't imagine I could, you know? And I surprise myself sometimes. I surprise myself when I look back at my old self videos, you know, when I'm 13-year-old, when I'm 12-year-old, and from just videos from the past. And I get inspired to just by just looking at my old self. There are things I did back then that I don't do now, and I know that there are things that I do now that I didn't do back then, and it will just keep happening. That is the beauty of involvement. And as long as you're hungry, you're gonna keep doing it, right?
Right.
Yes, I very much relate to your path in life, but inverse. This show is not about me, so I'm not going to go into a bunch of details about that. But I will say this: the similarities are here. My father was also a musician, but he was not a drummer, or you know, he played in church, like black gospel church.
Yeah.
And when I came up, I was accompanying him on the drums.
Yeah.
And there came a point in my life. Well, he was also his real profession. He had a PhD in science, so he was a scientist. He was a science teacher. So he taught children all week, and then and for his life, he couldn't take the chances that I did as a musician because he had 4 kids.
Yeah.
You know, so instead of going out into the world and playing music, he had to provide. He played in the church.
Yeah.
He taught. Sometimes he even took on a second job, depending on what we needed.
Right.
My father tried to talk me out of playing music because of, you know, the uncertainty of it all.
Correct.
Also, people don't tell you, but there's a lot of rejection involved.
Of course.
In being in music. People think this is a cakewalk, you know, and I'll tell you something very personal. Just because I feel open. I feel seen by you.
Yeah. I feel you. Yeah.
The brokenness sometimes that we feel. I have a space in me that's just kind of empty. Like I didn't come with all the parts. Not like physiologically.
Right. It's an emotional thing.
There's something inside that cannot be reached by human hands.
Right.
Yeah.
And I realized as I got older how much time you end up spending alone as a musician. You go from the stadium to the hotel room, and no rational human being is supposed to be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel you.
Yes.
I totally understand what you're saying.
And while I know now why the creator gave me so much time to myself.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be around people, but my siblings were much older and both of my parents worked, and I just kind of was left to my own devices often.
Yeah.
So there's just a hole here.
Yeah.
But I needed to learn how to function alone.
Yeah.
Because on the road, you're around everybody at one moment, and the next moment, there's no one there.
You know, as artists, we're very complicated to understand. And even
Yeah.
sometimes we feel like we're not understood by our own self and we're trying to figure it out through our moves, right? But having said that, like you said, we were brought into this earth for a reason. And we chose to do this because we knew we could handle it, you know? And we try to keep pushing boundaries and try to figure it out. And because we give so much of ourselves out there, like you said, playing stadiums, playing clubs, playing so many different kinds of music, and also trying to get better with our own communication and our vocabulary and music abilities and capabilities, right? We give so much to the world with our creations that it's very natural for us to feel empty, because all the things that are inside, we're giving it out there. We're just letting it out, you know? And that's such a vulnerable thing to do, you know? And at the end, we feel empty, and we just have that space. We created that space now to either analyze or criticize, you know? And I guess we leave it to the people to do both. You know?
Yes.
And sometimes it can be hard, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. Sometimes it can make you feel very content, like, oh, I just got done with this project, I feel so much better. And sometimes it can feel like, I didn't do my best, I rushed with it, or you know, I could have spent more time, you know. There's always that, right?
Yes.
And yeah, so I now, after having done that for a bit, now I just tell myself, like, I just gotta get it out. I realize I love creating more than anything, you know. I just love learning and I love creating. And so whatever I have on my slate, instead of self-sabotaging myself and underestimating myself, I need to surround myself with people that are equally powerful, equally smart, maybe even better, so that I can realize my worth, you know. And those people will tell you, instead of being jealous, those people will tell you what you're worth and what you can bring to the table and what your potential is, which is unlimited, you know. Because it's very easy for people around you, even the people that love you, sometimes will experience negative things and will not tell you, not be honest with you to your face, you know?
That's a very important thing that you just brought up, because I made up my mind a long time ago. Some people will tell you I've always been this way, but I'm conscious about it now, that I present transparently. I'm no respecter of persons. I don't try to aim for this or that. I show up with who I am. That's all.
Yeah.
I walk into any room, and the first thing I do is show my heart.
Always lead with heart, right? Always lead with positivity, heart.
That's
because
right.
our time is precious, and we're not going to let anybody pull us down or use our time to their advantage, you know, unless we love someone and we're going to let them, right? Because we genuinely love seeing people do best in their life. Like, that genuinely makes me happy. But with the emptiness in the heart, I feel like there's a good part to that too, which is, if you don't make space, you're not going to allow, how do I put it? If you don't make space, then you're not going to let a new thing happen to you, because you got to make space you got to be your home. But before you could invite somebody else, you got to be your home, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like music is very much like relationships that way.
Yes.
Yeah. Cause let me say, I watching the Instagram clips that you've been putting up recently, kind of watching you delve into different styles of music kind of lends itself to, you know, it seems like you're chasing an emotion with each project that you get involved with. It's like a little different. Like, this is gonna, let me just play this little combination here of some clips that you have. It's not that long, but I want you to kind of see the expansiveness of some of the stuff that Mohini's working on right now. Not that one, this one. So wow,
After you.
holy,
I'm
holy,
laughing at my own self.
yeah. And the purpose of me putting that clip together was to kind of show the diversity of things that you do and how you do each one of them so insanely well. And what is it like watching yourself? Are you experiencing any emotions kind of watching some of these clips?
Or are you
I like
judging?
watching myself.
Or are you judging? She seemed like she was judgy. She was kind of like, oh, no.
No, I mean, yeah, a little bit, but I'm also really like startled, and I love watching myself. I sometimes, when I have time, I will watch myself, and it's really, that's why I document myself, through Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. I do YouTube more now than ever, but really to just document my growth. I love watching myself. It's really amazing how you put these clips together, because with Willow, I'm playing not very pop, but still more pop than I ever have.
Right.
But then the next clip was, what was it? I think it was a recording session that I was doing for one of the clients, and it was like a cover of Stanley Clark song or something. Yeah, so yeah, and then after that, what was it? Me, I don't know, what was it? Like
It was like a blue. I think it was Blue Note. It was something you were doing for Sawdust, I think, or.
Oh yeah, that was a Blue Note New York City clip. Yeah, from my first debut performance at the Blue Note in New York City, and that was amazing. Yeah, that was one of the most fun performances I did, and there were music listeners. There were like music nerds. I love playing for that kind of crowd, people that really understand what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think it really shows like versatility, and that's been a part of my life since I was a little kid, like having played at the jazz clubs Friday, Saturday nights, and then going into like the Indian pop bands, and then playing with a lot of vocalists, back in India. The first like 13 to 15 years was just that. And then was I writing my music? Yes, never released it, but I was writing. And then after that, I slowly started making my move to America, would play for a lot of international artists. And at 15 or 14, I did a tour with Mike Stern in India. Then I did a tour with Dave Wecker. Then I did a tour with Guthrie Govan. That led to 2 more tours with Guthrie, one in Japan, one in India. And then I did a tour with Marco Miniman. Then all the drummers started hitting me up, and they were like, we want to do a collab. Like, here's a song. Gorgo Borlai from Hungary, he hit me up, and he was like, I wrote a song for you, Day by Day. I want you to play on it. And I was like, I didn't even know like who he was until I until he told me like, oh, I've played with Scott Henderson and this and that. And like, oh, I was like, wow, who is this person? Incredible. And then I heard the song, and I was like, oh, I can't play that. That's too fast. Like, that's just too fast. And I remember giving a shot at it, doing the first take. And that's when I realized I have speed. And we did that video, and it went viral. And that video went to it knocked some of the biggest doors, and really gave me like the international recognition, I would say. And then all the companies started hitting me up, like Mark Bass, Mayonnaise. All the endorsements I have now really came from that video.
Love that.
Yeah, it was such a journey. And now I've been with those companies for over, I don't know, 8 to 10 years now,
I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
How often do you find that your time is better than the drummer you're playing with? You don't have to name names. I need to, but I want to know. because your time is you've got pockets for days and you know it. I can tell by the way you play slow
Yeah.
that you were looking for
Yeah.
the space.
Yeah. Very often, honestly speaking. Yeah.
That's okay. It's okay to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I just wondered, you know.
We do have some questions from the audience too. We probably get those in.
I guess we better let them say something.
Well, probably.
Yeah.
I want to
I
start
got
at
a
the
list
top.
like this.
Yeah, I do too. I haven't even touched on all the stuff that I had written because I really wanted to get into the cultural thing and some of the inclusion of some of the things that you, some of the Indian culture that you put into your style.
Yeah, I get that, but see, that's boring for me because I've jammed with a tabla player for years.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm interested in, but it's his show, so we need to let him go ahead.
No, it's
Go
our
ahead, man.
show.
Mike, you live in Dakota, don't you?
I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Oh, Minneapolis. Okay.
Minnesota, not Dakota.
Okay,
They're close.
okay.
It's close though.
Close, right? Yeah, I'm playing Dakota soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely need to connect.
Yeah.
Oliver Burkett says, "Is your Brooklyn show next Saturday solo or with the band?"
It's with the band. It's with my old trio that I've been with for the last, I would say, 3 years. But after the next 3 shows that I have, so I have the Brooklyn show. I have, what else do I have? I have to look at my calendar. I'm playing Cincinnati and I'm playing. I will look it up, but it's 3 shows. One in New York, one in Cincinnati. Oh, one in Boston. There you go. It's the Reggae Bar and National Sawdust. And I think it's Ludlow Garage. Yeah, I think those are the. Okay.
Nice.
So that's with my old trio. And then after those 3 shows, I have a completely new band. And that is a quartet. And it has keys, bass, obviously me, and drums, and then a saxophonist. So it's 4-piece. And with that new band, I'm hitting the Europe tour, which starts 2nd of July.
Man, unreal. I hope you eventually get an opportunity to come down to Atlanta, but man,
I was going to say, I hope you eventually get a chance to unpack your stuff at your place in Nashville. Have you been there long enough to take everything out?
It is crazy right now. It's really crazy.
Is there a reason you chose? I mean, I'm sure there's a reason. I'm asking why Nashville.
Well.
I'm not trying to dip. If it's
well,
you don't want to discuss,
it was
fine.
not. Let's just put it this way: it wasn't my choice. It was my ex-husband's choice. He wanted to move here, and I moved with him because I can work from anywhere.
Sure.
And, just things didn't work out, and I stayed here. I just continued living here.
Do you interact down there?
Do you mean do you have friends here?
Well, do you play around there? Do you? Yeah, I guess. Are you?
No, I don't play around here. No,
Good.
I come here because I'm playing all the time. So when I come back home, I just want to be home.
Okay.
I'm very much a homebody. I like being home.
I love to hear it because what I don't want.
I love cooking. Like I'm about to cook after this interview. That's like my favorite space. Like I just want to decompose myself, listen to some nice George Benson, Algero, cook, you know, just like relax, you know.
Oh my God! All right, next question.
Your life sounds exciting.
Yeah, we're gonna get. I'm gonna start asking for recipes.
Hang out down there with y'all.
Gabriel says, "What's your opinion of John Myung of Dream Theater? If you two worked on something, it would be insane." But
I think he's amazing. I think he's incredible. And he sounds amazing with Dream Theater. I have never heard him with anything else actually other than Dream Theater. So I would love to jam with him if he's down. This I've gotten a lot from a lot of fans, like, you know, John Myung, you two would be really great together. I'm like, hey, I'm down if he's down, you know?
Yeah, but that would be great if we could make that connection. That would be fantastic. Speaking of which, we have a very heavy Prince community here. Were you introduced to the music of Prince at any point in time?
Not really, honestly. I don't know any Prince's songs, and that is so sad, actually.
That's awesome. That's incredible.
It is kind of awesome.
I love it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to hate on me for that. But I mean, have I heard his music? Absolutely. But I cannot name anything, you know?
Well, I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna
love it.
send her.
Don't send her nothing, man.
No, I have to send her. I have to send her Around the World in a Day. Just the song Around the World in a Day.
You're gonna
Because
give her
of
the wrong impression. You're gonna
No,
lead
no.
her on, man.
No, just because I want her to hear how he incorporated some of those
No,
instruments.
I know.
And
I
that's
mean,
like,
I
yeah,
know.
it's
I've
just
heard his bass. I've heard him on the bass. I've heard some of the best bass players with him. You know, I've heard songs. It's not like I haven't heard Prince's music. It's just
Right.
that I've never followed. You know, I've never
Sure.
been like, oh, I want to put Prince's music and like jam to it. Like I've never done that because he wasn't a part of my foundation.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like I went on the Coldplay tour and I didn't know any Coldplay songs.
There you
Not a
go.
big deal. I don't either.
That's because we didn't grow up with that. Like I come from India and I just, you know, I saw his whole show and I was like, wow, I can see like people getting emotional. It's a lot of love there, you know, like you were saying, it's just heart, you know? So yeah, that's what connects us all, no matter what music we're listening to or
Sure.
what we're missing out on. If you're a true lover of music, you will connect on that, you know?
That's true.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
Electric Vibe. Question for this amazing young lady. How has non-Western tonality influenced your playing in a Western framework?
Big time. I think that is one of the reasons why people keep me or people categorize me apart from like all the other bass players. You know, I feel like that is like one of my focal points because I sound the way I do and because of the Indian classical carnatic foundation that I've had. I even when I'm playing other kinds of music, people can hear that sound, you know, because it is my voice, you know. So yeah,
Right.
it has affected me big time. It's part of my voice. It's part of my vocabulary, and that sets me apart from the other bass players.
Do you know any of the other women, those other famous women bass players in the world?
Yeah, I
Like,
do. I mean, I know Esperanza. I know Kinga Glick. I know, um, yeah. There are some other bass players. I forget names, but yeah, there are some people out there that sound very, very good, and yeah, they come up on my feed sometimes, and
I was
I'll
going to say, well, I guess I wondered if there was any sort of community between you and them, or is
You
there
know, I
rivalry?
feel like if I grew up in LA, there would have been more
Okay.
of
I
that
see.
because I feel like the women out in LA are very like connected.
They work
All-
together.
Yeah, they work together, exactly. And because I grew up in India and I was the only female bass player, I became the role model for a
Yeah.
lot of young female bass players. And I didn't have a community. I had a community, but not with female musicians. I had a community with a lot of older men. There's an army of men behind my success, you know? Yeah.
Well, thank you for saying it.
It's true. It is true.
Men aren't popular these days, so
I know. I know.
we'll take any credit we can get.
What?
I'm sorry, Chris. I need a little time with her.
No, go, brother. Go.
I don't
I'm
mean
all
to be
about it.
insistent.
No, all
but
about it. Go.
I watched you talking to Rick Beato for an hour, and I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. And you talked about functional harmony
Yeah.
and non-functional harmony,
Yeah.
and I was completely lost. Can you tell me the difference?
Yeah, it's just, you know, the rules that if you go to like a music school, they'll tell you that, oh, this mode works on this chord. Or, you know, if you want to go out a little bit and invert the modes a little bit and come back to the root and center and go back to the degree, then you should use these modes. These are the possibilities, and that's functional, right? And then I came from a world where I didn't go to a music school, right? And my dad taught me whatever he knew, which was obviously limited because he was a self-taught bass player, you know? And then I would seek knowledge from other bass players that I thought were equally good. And I learned a little bit, you know, modes and like extended harmony and all that stuff. And then I realized, wow, there's a lot of rules. And even with ragas, there's a lot of rules, the way you should ascend, the way you should descend, and how you should, stay in the raga because it's just how it is. You know, Indian classical approaches are very strict like that.
Sure.
Can you hit a note or hear like a chromatic descend or an ascend. Like in jazz harmony, that's allowed, right? But in
Okay.
rock, that's a little bit like, oh, hello there. What was that?
Sure, yeah. So
You know?
are you saying that non-functional harmony is the extension?
Yeah, like all of my music, for example, let's see, in and out, right? I'm pedaling on E, right? I'm pedaling, ba, 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 da, 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 ba, 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 and that's E flat, and then I'm hitting an E with that E flat, right?
Sure.
That could sound horrible, but the melody also has an E flat with me pedaling on E, and
That's the
very
secret.
non-functional.
Yes,
know?
but that's why it seems to work.
Exactly. And it works. If it sounds good to my ears, then I'm like, well, it's fine if it's non-functional, because a lot of people told me, like, all of your music, it has a lot of non-functional harmony. I'm like, well, it sounds good to me.
Yeah, that's what I wondered, because you seem to be so free about just the music goes.
Because I have limited, because maybe from the outside perspective, like the jazz nerds will say like, oh, that's like very out there. I'm like, yeah, because, I have the tools that I know and that's provided to me from my foundation. And I don't like rules. I just want to be free and whatever sounds good to me. Because if you box yourself in those rules, then you're going to make a certain kind of music.
Yeah. And I'm sorry.
All the time, I meant.
Yes. And that's actually a trait that you share with Prince. He did not believe in rules. Harmonically, there's very expansive things going on in places that are not so popular in his catalog.
Yeah. And I feel like if you're not free and open-minded, then how are you going to know or open up new boxes? It's like then you're going to do the same things that has already been done before, and it's just in that box. I like to expand. I like to find the unlimited. I like to find something that has not been done before.
Classical training is limited.
Special. Like, okay, I'm a bass player. Okay, I'm good. Yeah, but that's it. Whatever. When I'm writing my music, I want to write something different. Because there are greats out there that do the other thing the best.
Absolutely. It's better to have your own voice.
Exactly.
Man,
all right. You can have it, Mr. Christopher.
No, I want to be respectful of her time too, because I know she wants to get to cooking. I did have a couple of quick questions. Do you still wear that pendant?
No, it's been a long time. The moment I left my house, that pendant was gone. Actually, even before that, like 2-3 years prior to leaving the house, and my dad and I were not on good terms, and we were like, hey, you either respect me and we can have a good relationship, or there's no relationship. And I would not like to do that, because if something happens to me tomorrow or something happens to you tomorrow, then it's going to be a bad note to end on. Like, let's just have mutual respect,
That's another thing. I'm sorry. We just seem to be in the same place somehow. That's another thing that I've just learned as I've gotten older is be quick to forgive. You're wasting time.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing.
Life is unpredictable, and it proved me right. Like, I lost dad over a year ago and I didn't see that coming,
Yeah.
And if we didn't have a good relationship, that would have been extremely tough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're still on tour with Willow, and you is mohiniday.in the best place for people to find out where you're playing?
No, it's mohinidaybase.in.
Oh, I've been scrolling the wrong URL this whole friggin' time.
I've been reading the ticker.
Yeah, we'll fix the ticker. I'm just so happy that we were able to get you on the show and kind of just spend some time with you, because I think that you are somebody who deserves to be celebrated. Your bass playing and your just style is just so amazing, and any artist that you work with is got to be blessed to have you on the team. And I can't say enough about you, and I am so thankful that you spent some time with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And it was great meeting you, Mike, and hope we can meet each other in person soon.
Absolutely.
And it was great meeting you, Christopher, too. And I had a great time chatting with the both of you.
All right. Thank you so much. Will you come back sometime?
Absolutely.
Great.
That'd be fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the one, the only Mohini Dey. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'll have to fix the scroll before we do the live. Mohini, thank you so much. That
Awesome.
was
Thank you so much. Love you all.
Eat meat,
Bye-bye.
eat meat, eat meat.
Yes.
I love it. All right. Have a good one. Take care now.
Have a good one too. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Hope you guys had an amazing night, and we will see you next weekend. Get some rest, folks. You're gonna need it. You're gonna need it. You're gonna need it. Good
I
night.
hear that.